Welcome to a video walkthrough of Biology 1408 and 1409 for Canvas. First of all, you'll need to log in at canvas.tccd.edu. It's going to ask you for your login information, which should be your first name dot last name, maybe some numbers, at tccd.edu. Your password? That's on you. I don't know your password. Sorry. And they change the rules periodically as to how many letters it has to be, and numbers and capitals and specials and all that. I'm sorry, use your password. If you do need any help, do contact the TCC help desk. And I can't actually help you on that one. You'll have to contact the help desk for your password. But you should be able to go there and log in and get to Canvas. Once you log in, you should see, well, honestly, I'm not entirely sure exactly what you do see. I don't have a student account, and the student view for instructors thing didn't work exactly precisely right on the home pages here. But there's a little circle with your profile. The second thing is actually a dashboard, and that should take you to your list of classes. Yours won't say publish all over it, but you might have several different classes, and you're looking for one that's labeled Biology 1408 or Biology 1409. When you click on the class, it'll take you other places. From here, everybody's course is going to look a little different. Every instructor's course is going to look a little different. It should pop up with some home page and give you some idea of where to go. Specifically for my Biology 1408 and 1409, on the home course, it does have a couple of links on the top section. I've got a table set up, and the upper left-hand side does have the syllabus, orientation, and how to study files. I'll go over that later, honestly. I've found that it really helps to show people what's going on in the course, and then we'll come back to that syllabus, talk about that orientation and the how to study file. So give it a minute, we'll be back there shortly. The box on the upper right-hand side was labeled announcements, or you could have clicked the announcements on the left-hand side of the page. Either way, it does get you to some of the announcements where I'll tell you about the course and things like that. They're programmed in a little weird, but when we get to the lecture exam number 4, we'll have an announcement about that. When we get to the course evaluation, we'll have an announcement about that. You probably already have a welcome announcement in your course. When we get to lesson 2, I'll have an announcement for that. There'll be all sorts of announcements. Again, you can get to it from the home page, upper right-hand side, or you can get to it from any page just clicking announcements on the left-hand side, and that'll take you to all of them. I think as an added bonus, it's got the last announcement posted to be predominantly on the screen somewhere. You'll see announcements in all sorts of places. One of the big things to do is some lecture lessons. On the home page, there is the second box on the left-hand side that's labeled Lecture Exam Number 1 Module and does have lessons 1, 2, and 3 in it. You can get to it by clicking the Lecture Exam Number 1 module or the picture of the heart, or on the left-hand side under Announcements, there would be modules. Either way, it takes you to the same place on the next slide. The modules will take you to all the files that you need to know for each of the lessons. Turns out that lecture exam number 1 does have lessons 1, 2, and 3 on it. So lesson 1 is going to be, well, it depends on what class you're in. If you're in Biology 1408, it's going to be an introductory chapter. If you're in Biology 1409, it's going to be the circulatory system. So it kind of depends on exactly which class you're in as to what picture you've got. That's nice. Deal with it. The lecture lessons may be all available, but odds are probably only lecture exam number 1, module number 1 is actually going to be available, because inevitably somebody manages to get started on lesson 12 when they should be working on lesson 1, and then they're all upset because they missed this stuff for lesson 1 when they were working on 12 of us. I don't know why, but sometimes I close them down so you can't see all of them. If you're taking this course in the summer, I've probably left it all open because summer goes so fast. If you want to work ahead, you should probably work ahead. But there are going to be a whole bunch of different parts to the each of the lessons, no matter which lesson you're actually on. There are some fill in the blank notes. If you click the fill in the blank notes, you'll go somewhere else. So Canvas will take you to this screen, which will either have fill in the blank notes for lesson 1, scientific study of life, or the fill in the blank notes for lesson 1, circulatory system, depending on whether you're looking at biology 1408 or 1409. You will want to read through, it does say I recommend that you print these out, keep them handy while you read the lecture notes. You'll want to study these for the lecture exam, but they aren't for a grade and you never have to turn them in. There is an attachment if you'll click on the Word document. I forget if it pops up automatically or if it just pops up in a preview window. Hopefully it pops up and downloads it for you. Quick test. Pushing the button does actually pop it up in a downloadable form. So you'll have to open up the Word document and you should get to, say, Chapter 1, Circulatory System, the fill in the blank notes. These are not for a grade. I've got some lecture notes, and if I were lecturing in class, you could listen and figure out what word goes in the blank and write it down in the blank. Hang on, we'll get to where you find those notes here in just a second. These are not for a grade. I do have lecture notes that have all of the words on them, just as kind of one of those things to encourage attendance. I leave the word off the notes here, so there's a blank to be filled in so that you are actually paying attention in class. I do not actually need you to fill in the blanks and turn them in. I can figure out what word goes in the blank. I wrote the notes. They're mine. It's okay. Every semester I have somebody who tries to give them to me. Miss Snaples, I did you a favor. I filled in all the blanks. Yeah, I actually have all the blanks filled in. It's more for the students than for me. These things are not for a grade. I'm going to assume you can fill in the correct word in the blank. They are something you are going to want to study for the lecture exams, however. For example, the circulatory system takes in oxygen and other assorted nutrients to all the cells and removes carbon dioxide and waste products. You can probably expect a question about, what takes oxygen and nutrients to all the cells and removes carbon dioxide and waste products? A, the circulatory system. B, the respiratory system. C, the digestive system. D, D should have been the digestive system. Oh well. D is going to be the urinary system now. So it might be some sort of multiple choice question. Or it might be some sort of true and false question. For example, an open circulatory system is when the blood bathes the organs directly. There are no blood vessels, and an example would be insects. Hang on, we'll get to all that here shortly. But do note there's a whole bunch of different parts to that definition there. If there's a definition with a bunch of semicolons in it and a bunch of parts, I can probably ask multiple questions. I could ask, in a blank circulatory system, the blood bathes the organs directly. A, open, B, closed. It's going to be A, open. True or false? A closed circulatory system has no blood vessels. That's actually false. It's an open circulatory system that has no blood vessels. Give an example of an organism with an open circulatory system. Insects. See how I could make 3 different questions from that information that's there? If the fill in the blank notes have multiple parts to it, you should know all the parts to it. I've probably got 3 different potential questions. Whether or not you get all 3 of them, different story. But there's generally, if there's 3 parts, there's 3 potential questions at least. You will want to use these fill in the blank notes to study for the exams. The lecture exams do come from my notes. Yeah, Ms. Naples, we've heard that before. I've heard about people who've said, oh yeah, my test comes from my notes. But I studied all the things they said, and they talked about a fishing trip and their dance last night and what they were watching on television the week before. None of that was on the exam. Yeah, my exam comes from my notes. If it's not on the notes, it should not be on the exam. I know, there's been a couple of times over the years where I have updated the notes taken something off the notes and forgot to remove that question from the exam, in which case it's not fair, and I gave the entire class 2 points for that question. If you find one that is not find an exam question that's not on the notes, let me know. A lot of times I can find it on the notes, in which case there's no points for everybody, sorry. But if even I can't find it on the notes because I removed it from the notes, then that's not fair, and I give everybody 2 points. So study the notes. If it's not on the notes, it's not on the exam, or else everybody gets 2 points for that question. Doesn't happen too often, but it's worth a look. But how do I know which words go in those blanks? Well, from that fill in the blanks, or from the fill in the blanks section, go to the next item, which was probably lesson 1 circulatory system. Go to the next one after that. Would be lecture notes for the circulatory system, or for the lesson 1 study of life in 1408, fine, whichever. So on the lecture notes page, there's an explanation for the terms in the fill in the blank notes. You're welcome to print these off or just read them online. But if you'll click the attachment, LNO, whatever number, whatever name, .docx, that'll pop up with the actual lecture notes. Or if you'd prefer, there's also generally a lecture video where I have actually done a lecture and highlighted what I'm talking about on the PowerPoint. And if you'd prefer to more listen to the lecture notes, that's fine. We've got the YouTube videos there. It's the same thing as the read all about it. It's just I've talked about it. Same difference. Either one, whichever one you prefer. The lecture notes are used to fill in the blanks on the fill in the blank notes. These are pretty much my lecture in mostly complete sentences. I don't guarantee I ain't an English major, so I don't guarantee they're in proper English all the time, but they should be decently well formatted. Englishified? Yeah, let's go with formatted and go on with life. But generally, they do have a little bit of an introduction. When we start talking about the circulatory system, you gotta talk about how all the cells in your body take in oxygen and use it during aerobic respiration, and that makes energy and carbon dioxide's given off. And yeah, I'm not really gonna read all of this. But notice that second paragraph does have the circulatory system and says it takes in oxygen. Hey, remember those fill in the blank notes started with circulatory system takes in blank and nutrients, takes oxygen and nutrients to all the cells and removes the carbon dioxide and waste products, just like we said a few minutes ago. But it also gives you a little more explanation about how you do breathe oxygen into your lungs, and then there's blood vessels, blah, 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 blah. And imagine that we're going to go to talking about 2 types of circulatory system: an open circulatory system where blood bathes the organs directly. I am not reading from this whole darn thing. You'll want to open up the lecture notes and read the whole darn thing and fill in those fill in the blank notes so that you can study for the lecture exam later. Use these notes to fill in the blanks. See, I have the blanks filled in. I don't need the fill in the blank notes filled in from you. I got those. I'm going to assume you can fill the right word in properly. The next item on Canvas is probably some sort of homework assignment. The homework assignments do vary as to what lesson it's in and what class it's in and that sort of thing. But homework 1 for Biology 1409 is to draw a heart. Click the thing and we'll get to the next one. So here's a copy of one of the pages that shows you the assignments. The homework for lesson 1 is to draw a heart. It tells you the due date, the points, how to submit. It tells you about the assignment. Draw a heart. Label at least 10 structures. On the bottom or on the back of the page, write a definition for each of the 10 structures you labeled. Part of the assignment is to draw the heart, because in lab you're going to have to think about where all these structures are, so you might as well at least draw it. No artistic ability really required. I've seen some pretty crappy hearts. Mine's at the top of that crappy list, although somebody was able to beat me the other year. Oh, that was kind of embarrassing, but somebody's been able to draw a worse heart than I have. That's okay. I don't grade artistic ability, I promise. But you do need to label 10 structures. On the bottom of the page or on the back of the page, write or type a definition for each of the 10 structures you labeled. There is an attachment down at the bottom that actually has the Draw the Heart document. You don't have to draw the heart on that piece of paper. You can draw it on any piece of notebook paper and just snap a cell phone picture. That's fine. You can turn in the homework by submitting a document. Click the Start Assignment box on the upper right-hand side, and then that'll walk you through a couple of things on actually scrolling down a bit and upload file and choose file and find your file and click Submit Assignment. But it really works fairly well. Most people will just snap a cell phone picture or two, maybe a cell phone picture of the heart, maybe a cell phone picture of the definitions. Sometimes people just do the cell phone picture of the heart and then they'll type their definitions in the text entry box. That works for me. You can always just snap a cell phone picture and then switch to text entry and type your answers. That works. That worked great. If we're actually back on campus, you could actually just hand in the assignment in class. That's fine too. The next thing is an in-class assignment. The in-class assignments I will print out and hand them out in class starting fall 2021. I'm still recording this for summer 2021, in which case we are still online, in which case you have to do all your stuff online. Sorry. But if we're back on campus, you can always submit these things in class on campus. And if we are back in class, I will actually print the in-class assignment out. Although, if for some reason you weren't there that day, well, it's on Canvas. Just print out your own copy. That's fine. The in-class assignments, we will start them in class usually, although summer 2021, you'll have to do them all on your own. Sorry. They are actually kind of a group work. You can work in groups of 1 to 4 people. Yes, I know a group of 1 kind of sucks, but there you go. If you prefer to do your work by yourself, hey, that's fine too. You can work in a group of 1. If you can find some friends, work in a group of 4. That's fine. If you do work in multiple groups of multiple people, please do put everybody's name on it. Don't leave somebody out. Make sure you get everybody's name on it. If you could do the section number, hey, that would be great. Check Canvas to see what your section number is. I don't know what your section number is. It makes it easier to find you if you've got your section number on there. Some of these in-class assignments are a little interesting. The first one isn't too bad. Name the 4 chambers of the heart. I don't know the 4 chambers of the heart. Yeah, probably not. When you get through the read the lecture notes, fill in the blank notes. By the time you get through with that, you should be able to name the 4 chambers of the heart. If not, look back on the notes. Use your notes for these. That's fine. 2 of those chambers will be upper chambers. 2 of those chambers will be lower chambers. That's nice. Answer the questions. Sometimes, especially the questions at the end, might require a little more think about it, or maybe even looking things up on the internet. A few of them do require more than just the notes. Yeah, well, there's some in-class assignments. Again, you can turn them in Canvas, click the Start Assignment button, snap a cell phone picture, or just type out your answers in the text submission box. It works. Or turn them in class. That's fine too. Anyway, continuing back on in Canvas, underneath the in-class assignments, there's going to be a practice test. The practice test is just for practice. But if you'll click the link, it does go to the practice test. Practice test, quiz instructions. Practice tests are very similar to real questions that I ask on a real lecture exam. The practice tests are not for a grade, but they do let you see the type of questions that I will normally ask. Hey, there's a question about a closed circulatory system. Is that the one where blood is confined to blood vessels or blood bathes the organs directly? I don't know. Well, we did actually kind of talk a little bit about an open circulatory system where blood bathes the organs directly. That was open. This is asking about closed. I'm going to guess it's the other one. Blood's confined to blood vessels. And then you can click next and you'll get to the next question and the next one and the next one. There's only 10 questions. It's not that bad of a deal. When you do get through with your 10th question, you can submit the quiz. They are not for a grade, although Canvas will actually tell you your score. I don't pay any attention to that. I never see that. It isn't recorded anywhere on my end. So feel free to answer them all wrong. I really don't care. Feel free to answer it 50 million times. I don't care. It's a practice test. I don't see these. It does eventually tell you your answers at the end, but it never tells me your score. It's not for a grade. But it is a lot of the questions. Some of them are copied and pasted directly from my question bank. I can tell you that closed circulatory system question, that's one that appears on my test frequently, as does an open circulatory system, as does about 150 other questions from chapter 1. Sorry, it doesn't narrow things down that much, but it should give you an idea of what sorts of questions I could ask.
For the lecture exams, well, honestly, it is too easy to cheat on online exams. I'm sorry. I have gone back to lecture exams that are only on campus. I've still got the little square there for the lecture exams. It will still have information on the exams, what to study for each lecture exam, that sort of thing. But you can no longer take exams online. It's going to be on campus only. They're not going to require a Scantron for the lecture exams. You just come in with a pen or pencil and circle the right answer and go on with life. It should work pretty easily.
Back on the home page, there's further down on the little rectangles, there's lab exam number 1 module that has lab safety. It has all the lab exercises: lab safety, cardiovascular, hearts and parts, respiratory, blah, 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 blah. If you'll click on that, we'll start talking about some of the lab stuff. Again, the lab titles are going to be a little different depending on whether you're taking Biology 1408 or 1409. But for Biology 1408, there's the pre-lab for exercise 12 and the circulatory system. The pre-lab assignments are something you're going to want to do before lab. Oh my God, Ms. Snaples, the first lab exercise is lab safety. I didn't know we had to do something last week. Don't panic, there's not really a pre-lab for lab safety, which is why I'm skipping on to pre-lab for 12 circulatory system. But it says there's a pre-lab for exercise 00 lab safety. Yeah, and if you'll click on it, the first thing it says is there's not really a pre-lab. Read the inside of the front cover of the lab book. So we're going to skip on to the thing you actually have to do something about, which is the pre-lab for exercise 12 for the circulatory system. With the pre-lab assignments, you will want to do these before you do each of the lab exercises so that you kind of look things over and note any of the definitions and write things down, label pictures, that sort of thing. So the pre-lab for exercise 12, the circulatory system, does have a due date, it's got points, it's got questions, it does not have a time limit, and you can try it as many times as you need to so that you get all 5 of your points. The instructions: after reading exercise, whatever, this one happens to be 12, and looking over the attached PowerPoint, we'll get there, do the pre-lab assignment number 12. You can use your books, notes, PowerPoints, internet, etc. to do the lab assignments. I'd prefer you not use your friends because it'll sink better into your brain, but if you wanted to study with somebody and confirm your answers, that doesn't bother me too much. First of all, there is going to be a link to a YouTube video. That one is more provided in case somebody misses the lab exercise for whatever reason. Well, really, it's for summer 2021 where students are going to miss the lab exercise, and boom, there you go. There's a video that walks you through the lab. That's more the lab exercise than the pre-lab. There's an attachment, exercise 12 circulatory system, PPTX. That's a PowerPoint thing. You can either click it and it will open in the in Canvas, or you can click the little down arrow and download it. That's probably your better bet. You'll want to open that PowerPoint up and then click to take the quiz. So once you've got the PowerPoint, which happens to be the picture on the left, open, and you've got your quiz open, the picture on the right, neither of which is real readable. Sorry about that. But in order to get both of them on the screen, neither one of them was able to be read. But on the right-hand side, there is the pre-lab, and it does have question 1, which says identify this chamber of the heart. Notice it's got a black arrow pointing to something on the right-hand side of the picture. On the PowerPoint, it does talk about exercise 12 being the circulatory system. It's got an introduction, it's got a whole bunch of different slides. One of the things you really can't tell is that I'm actually on slide 13 out of 29. Yeah, well, but see how that arrow's pointing to the same structure? Hey, it looks to be pointing to a left atrium. On our pre-lab quiz, maybe we should pick left atrium. And then click next. I'm not going to go through all of these. It's your job to go through all of these, look through your book, look through the PowerPoints, and try to find the answers. You will want to click submit the quiz at the end, or however they kind of phrase it. Be sure you submit the whole thing at the end. You'll also need to take a post-lab quiz. After we've done a lab exercise, there will be a quiz over it. You'll only have one try. No books, no notes, no neighbors, no internet, no nothing but whatever's contained in your little brain. So be sure to have studied before you click on the information. So you do need to do the quiz exercise 00 lab safety. It's got a due date. It's worth 5 points. There are 5 questions. There's a 10-minute time limit. You will have 10 minutes for the entire quiz. While you've got several days to take it, to start it. Once you hit take the quiz, the timer starts, and then you've only got 10 minutes to do the quiz. You will see the questions one at a time. The quizzes are all multiple choice or true false, but no books, no notes, no friends, no checking the internet, nothing else, just whatever information you've got in your little brain. Be sure you have read over the lab safety handout and have watched the lab safety YouTube video, or have been to lab and actually done the lab exercise before attempting the quiz. But then you click take the quiz, answer the 5 questions, and submit the quiz at the end. No, I'm not going to show you any questions of those. Sorry. But yeah, it's pretty easy. Answer the questions like we're going to follow all of the stuff on the inside of the front cover of the lab book.
On the bottom right-hand side is the lab exams. The lab exams are on campus only. We will talk more about them when we get closer. But you'll need a Scantron, you'll need a pencil, you'll need to have studied everything for lab exam number 1 and then studied everything for lab exam number 2. We go around the lab room. Yeah, more details later. There's really not a lot there if you click it, but yeah, I put the lab exam stuff there.
Okay, so that's been a lot of how the course works. Now we'll go back and talk about that syllabus orientation and how to study thing. So if you go back to the home page, the upper left-hand small rectangle does have syllabus orientation and how to study files. We'll be talking about those finally. So once you click the link, there's the syllabus little page. It does have the instructor requirements, the syllabus, the course description, the required text, the missing exam policies, grade determination, lesson assignments, due dates, blah, 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 blah. It does have an attachment. That's where you actually click the link to get to the syllabus that we're fixing to start talking about. I am not reading through my syllabus for you, but it does have my name and contact information like my office hours. It does have the textbook information. There's not a textbook for lecture. You'll read through my lecture notes and use those to fill in the blank notes. There is, however, a lab book. You'll need a copy of the what it's called, General College Biology Lab Book by Sean Snaples and Rhonda Crotty. It's got a lot of pictures on it. It's the one where you link up to the lab exam number 1 module. The syllabus does have how many points you're shooting for an A, how many points you're shooting for a B, how many points you're shooting for a C. It does have the dates that we're doing things. You can see there's dates that we're working on stuff. You can see that there are class topics. You can see there are due dates on there. There are even exam dates, usually highlighted in a faint pink. There's some lab information. You'll want to read through that. It goes over all sorts of things. But we've talked about most of where they are in Canvas, so it's not too bad of a deal. Another neat trick is Canvas does have a calendar. Yeah, Blackboard had a calendar too. People didn't realize where it was. But on the far left-hand side, there's your account information, there's a dashboard, there's courses, and then the fourth thing is going to be a calendar. If you'll click that fourth icon that looks suspiciously like a calendar, it will in fact pop up with a calendar. You can adjust the date. It will tell you everything that's due on any particular day. Actually, if you'll click the links, it'll take you to the assignment, which is really cool. If your instructor has programmed in all the due dates, I believe it works. I've programmed all the due dates in. I don't guarantee that every last TCC instructor has done that. Sorry, but it is an easy way to have an electronic calendar. I don't think you can add a dental appointment to it, but at least you've got a course calendar. You can also get to a similar thing by clicking the syllabus link on the left-hand side of Canvas. Not the far left, but the middle left. Yeah, not the boxes and the icons, but the actual word that says syllabus over there. It will take you to more of a course summary, but it can be arranged by date and tells you about the announcements like Welcome to Biology 1408 or 1409. It tells you about what's going to be due soon. Coming up is the pre-lab for exercise 12 and the quiz for lab safety. And then there'll be an in-class assignment, and there'll be this assignment and that assignment and the other assignment. It'll tell you what's coming up at any given time. The syllabus, orientation, and how to study file, back on the home page, that first smaller rectangle on the left-hand side, also has an orientation file. Much of what I've been talking about is actually written, typed out in the orientation file, whether it's orientation to Biology 1408 or Biology 1409. There's a little welcome message. You'll want to click the link. It has all sorts of information to walk you through navigating the class. You can print it out or just read it. It has what you need to do for this course. On any given day, there are usually 2 or 4 assignments any given week. There are things due. There's a lecture homework assignment. There's in-class assignments. There's a pre-lab assignment, and there's a post-lab assignment. Be sure to click the file, download it, and at least read. Yeah, I know, it's a lot of information. I haven't covered it all here. I have not been reading from it, although I know what it says, so you'll notice a lot of similarities there. But it does go through how the course works. The next file is a how to study for Biology 1408 or 1409. And students often ask me what's the best way to study for this class. I still say the best way to study for this class is whatever sinks the information into your brain. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. But there's a whole bunch of things to try. I still say the best thing to do, to start with at least, is probably going to be index cards. Sadly, most of my class focuses on knowledge and comprehension for the exams. Basically, memorize the fill-in-the-blank notes. Nope, it's not the greatest way to learn things, but memorize the fill-in-the-blank notes. You do have to memorize the information before you can even start to work with it. Yeah, well. But there's some recommended study techniques, and then it gets into some interesting stuff, Roman rooms and memorizing and mnemonics, and there's some other things out there besides index cards, but there's a whole several pages worth of things on how to study. There's even a link to a couple of videos if you're having any general study problems there. So there's some tips and techniques for general studies.
If you've got questions, don't forget there is the orientation file that's in Canvas. Or if that doesn't work, you're welcome to email me at sean.snaples@tccd.edu, or you can call my office phone number, or you can come by my office. Not a problem. Most people email. If you do email, honestly, the easy thing to do is to go into Canvas and click the link, and then it just automatically pops up. It works great. If you are typing it in, be careful with the spelling. Sean.Staples doesn't work. Dean Staples is no relation. She'll probably forward me the email, but you know. Also, if you do Sean.Snaples@my TCCD, that doesn't work. Your email has a my in it, but my email does not. Anyway, as long as you type it in correctly, the questions come to me just fine.